Hello beautiful one, you're welcome back to the channel. Thank you for clicking on this video. So today we'll be making an A-line dress with 3-step pleats at the chest line and Mandarin or bishop collar. Yes, it's either called Mandarin collar or bishop collar. So I'll be concentrating more on this area, the neckline and these pleats, how you can easily achieve it. So make sure you watch to the very end, and along the way give this video a like and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so. Also share with your friends. Okay, so let's get started. So I'll start by just drawing a line at the top. Yeah, that is after folding my fabric. So I folded using the biggest measurements plus the seam allowance and the ease. Okay, so I folded using the hip circumference divided by 4. Then I added 1.5 inch for ease because it's a free gown. Then I added 2 inches for seam allowance because we'll be using lining. So by the time we have taken in the lining, by ½ inch, you'll be having 1.5 left for the seam allowance. Okay, so that is what I use in folding. Now at this point I'm placing the shoulder measurement, that is shoulder divided by 2. I'm also placing the neckline. Since we'll be having Mandarin collar, the neckline won't be so deep and won't be so wide, so I use 3.5 for the width and 3 inches for the depth. Okay, so that is actually what I'm doing right now. I'm marking it. Okay, sorry, I used 3.5 for the depth. Okay, yeah, 3.5 for the depth and 3.5 for the width as well. Yes, 3.5 for the width, 3.5 for the depth. Okay, so I just want to achieve this roundness. So that is what I use for the front. This is for the front neckline. So at this point right now, I'm stepping down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. Okay, so this area actually just basically your basic bodice. That is just drafting a basic bodice. Yeah, but since it's an A-line dress, we are going to extend it at the lower part to form that A-line. So that is the armhole depth. I just placed right there from my shoulder slope. I placed my armhole depth and I would connect. Okay, now I'll just extend the line so that I can create my armhole. So that is it. Okay, so right now I am placing my waist measurement. That is the waist measurement, because that is it is from that waist point would extend our A-line. So I've made a video on this channel on how to make an A-line dress. Very detailed video. Okay, so by the time we want to connect, like this very point now is the waist point. That is why I marked it. Okay, so at this point I'm placing the bust circumference divided by 4 plus the ease, 1.5 inch ease and seam allowance. Okay, so the client's bust and the waist measurement are the same. That is, the bust circumference and the waist circumference are the same. So I place the same measurement there. At this point right now, I'm trying to create my armhole curve. Okay, that is, I'm trying to curve the armhole. So for the front bodies, we are coming in by ½ inch at the midpoint of the armhole, so that, you know, we don't have so much fabric bulging out at that armhole area. So with this, I now created the armhole. So this is just basically basic bodies. Okay, so I believe by now you should know how to draft a basic bodice. So that is the armhole right there. And I also like adding ½ inch at the shoulder for joining the shoulder. Okay, joining the front and back at the shoulder. So right now I've connected my lines and I cut it out. So at that lower part, what I actually used was a hip circumference. Okay, the hip circumference divided by 4 plus the ease and the seam allowance. That is what I actually measured at the lower part before cutting. So I'm also cutting the shoulder. and the neckline. So right now I have placed the front to cut the back, adding 1 inch zipper allowance, and the neck depth for the back, I used 1.5 inch for the neck depth of the back. Okay, because the back neck line is higher than the front, so I use 1.5 inch, but the width remains the same, just like you can see. Okay, so right now I'm going to open up my zipper area. Okay, remember I use the front to cut the back, adding up 1 inch for zipper. So I also went ahead to cut the lining. So I'm actually rushing this part because I believe a lot of you already know how to do that. So after cutting the lining, I would then place my lining at the good side of the fabric, like so. Okay, just place it this way. Then I'll go ahead to stitch. Normally we're to stitch the neckline, but no, don't stitch the neckline right now because we'll be adding mandarin collar. So I actually stitched it and loosed it. So what you stitch is the sides, the two sides. Okay, yeah, that is the lining and the main fabric. You just stitch them at the two sides and you turn it now to the good side of the fabric. You do same for the back. So for the back, you're stitching the zipper area and the sides, that is the lining and the main fabric. Okay, so you place your front and the back together like this, good sides facing each other. Want to stitch the shoulder. Okay, so remember that the neck area should be open. You're not stitching the lining and the main fabric at the neck area because we will join our collar, so we don't want it to be bulky at that area. So now is just to close up the shoulder. So you match up everything and you use the lining of the back to, you turn it this way. Just look at what I'm doing. Just bring up all the shoulders together like this, both the front and the back. Then you pick the lining of the back and flip it over. So want to achieve neatness at that shoulder. I believe a lot of you already know how to do this. So you just flip it over, merge up everything. You can see. So by the time you flip it, you see that the lining is touching each other. That is, the lining for the back and the front are touching each other, and main fabric are touching each other. So stitch it. Just go ahead to stitch. After stitching, you then flip it back. So I've joined them at the shoulder, and this is what we have. Okay, by the time you turn, remember I told you just stitch. So after stitching, you turn it and you have it looking neat inside like this. So the next thing we will do is to measure our neckline. Okay, so we'll measure this neckline to create our mandarin collar. Then by the time we create the collar, we also prepare the fabric we'll use for plating around it. Okay, so just go this way, measure from one end to the other end like so. So I actually top stitch this part after joint stitching my shoulder, so it will become just one piece with the lining. Remember, I've already stitched my lining before, but I had to open it. That's why you see these notches here. So just measure. So have about 24 inches here, but I'll add extra because it's better for it to be longer than the neckline you can trim out than for it not to be enough. Okay, so have 24 inches after measuring. So when we are cutting, we can cut about 25 to 26. Remember, it's better you have excess than shortage. So when it has gone round and completed the neckline, you can now trim out the excess than for you to start joining, and along the way it stops somewhere here, and what will you now do? So we'll cut around 26 inches, and let me show you how to do that. So I want to first of all illustrate it on paper before transferring to the fabric. Okay, so I to be clear to you. Yeah, so I have my paper on fold. Now you're going to fold your paper using the measurement you got at your neckline divided by 2. So we got 24 inches, and I said we should add extra for, it's better to have excess. So I think 26 might be too much, so let's just add 1 inch. 1 inch is okay, which is 25. So you just get 25 divided by 2. Okay, that is what you should fold on your paper. So that is 12.5. So by the time you measure, you should be able to have 12.5 on your folded paper or fabric. So I just want to create a starting point. So let's mark it out like this. So just mark out a straight line. Then the length of your collar. So we're using 12.5. Okay. Then now when you have marked the length of your collar, which is here, you also mark the midpoint. Mark the midpoint. So this is the midpoint of our measurements here. So this is midpoint. Now we also want to determine the width of our collar, how bold it will be. So 1 inch is usually okay. Yeah, 1 inch. But when you're cutting on your fabric, you need to add allowance for stitching the collar and also for joining it to the dress. Okay, so at this point now, you just measure 1 inch upward from this line. You make a mark there. You come to this midpoint. You also make a mark there. And at this area, that is at where you have your length, you also make a mark there. I just hope you can see these marks, but just follow my explanation. Okay, so now you're going to connect from this point to this center point like so. You go straight like so. Then at this other point, this last point, you're going to step up by 1 inch. So this 1 inch is just the width of your collar. So whatever width you're using, be it 1 inch, 1.5, 2 inches or so, that is what you're going to step up here by. So we are using 1 inch. Okay, so we're stepping up by 1 inch. So now you would connect from this center point to that 1 inch, and from this lower point to the initial point we have. So let me mark it so you understand. And you will do that in a curvy way. You're going to like curve it, not straight. Okay, so from here to this point, I would like make a curve to touch that point like so. And from this point, I'll make a curve to touch the upper one. Okay, so this is how your collar should be, and not just a straight fabric, not just straight. Okay, it should be curvy so that it can sit nicely at the neckline. So when you have done this, you need to measure your line. Measure this line to be sure you have the same measurement you placed here. So what we had there was 12.5. So you measure. So this is where we have 12.5 here. Okay, you do same to this other line. You measure and mark where you have your neck measurement. This is it. Then you connect it. Connect the both of them like so. Okay, so this is what we are cutting out. Then when we are cutting it on fabric, we'll add our seam allowance all around it. So you can see how curvy it is and not just straight. So go ahead and cut out. This is what we have. Okay, so you can see by the time we open it up, you can see how the shape is and not totally straight. So this area now is where will be joined to the bodice, I mean to the dress, while this area is the neck line. So now let's cut this on our fabric. So you place your fabric on fold, okay, then you place your collar on it. Now I actually folded the paper just to show you in case you're going to cut directly on your fabric. Okay, that's why I folded the paper, or else we don't even need the folded paper. So I've just cut it so it will not disturb us. This is all we need. Okay, so but you're cutting directly on your fabric, you need to fold your fabric, and by the time you have marked out what you need, you add allowance at the top and at this lower part as well for joining to the dress and for stitching the collar at this part. Okay, so we're going to add a half-inch allowance all around it. So you can measure it if you want, you can eyeball it. Okay, sure, you can eyeball accurately, that is fine. So you don't need so much, just allowance for joining it. Okay, just go ahead and cut it out like that. So let me just cut it out. So I just pinned it down so the paper will stay in place. Now I'll go ahead and just cut, adding my half-inch seam allowance. So this is what we have. You can see this. Okay, so we need 2 pieces of this. Yeah, we need 2 pieces of it. So I'm going to place it again and cut out. So we have the 2 piece here. Okay, so you can iron stay to this if you want, but I'm not ironing anything. I'm just going to use it the way it is. So you can iron stay to make it firm, but this is just how I'm going to use it. And I want to just indicate that this is the wrong side, and this side that is curvy is the upper part of our neckline. So I'm just going to place it good sides facing each other. By the time you place it good sides facing each other, you go ahead and stitch this upside. Okay, so I hope I'm correct. So this is the good sides facing each other. Okay, so you would stitch up this upper part. Yeah, so this curve would let you know that this is the upper part. You stitch it and then leaving here open, because we are going to now flip it over and we'll join this side to our dress. So let me just stitch it, then I will show you the next thing to do. Okay, so after stitching this upper side, you're going to notch it, then turn it. Okay, so just carefully notch. So after notching now, we turn it over. You are now going to press it. So remember I said you can add stay if you want. I'm not adding any stay. I'm going to iron it. So this is what we have. Now we're going to keep this aside and prepare the pleats that will be adding to our dress. So this one will go this way. To go like this. Okay, so you can see we'll have a little more, which is better than having shortage. So when we want to stitch it, we have to mark out the midpoint. Also mark out the midpoint of our neckline before like mark out the midpoint of our neckline. Yes, then we stitch whatever excess we have at this side, we'll cut it, and also stitch whatever excess we have at this side, we'll cut it. But before that, we are going to cut out the fabric to make our pleats, because one of the pleats will be joined to the neckline before the collar. So, and it will go this way. I want everything to be within the shoulder here. Then we'll leave ½ inch for joining the sleeve. Okay, we'll leave ½ inch for joining the sleeve. So now you can measure where you would like to join your pleats. Okay, and to know the length of fabric you need, you can cut about 3 times the measurement you have. Like one will be joining here. We know we have 24 inches here, so that will be like 3 times of 24. That is 24 times 3. That is how long the fabric would be. Okay, so that when we pleat it, it would be enough. So you can take times 2 if you want, but depending on how you want to pleat, if you don't want to fold it so much, you can take times 2. But I think I'll go ahead to cut times 3 of everything I'll be placing here. So the first one can measure about 2 inches. Okay, then each of them can be 2 inches. If the first one starts from here and end here, the next one would start like ½ inch inside the first one. Okay, the second one will start ½ inch in. You know, the first one need to overlap the second one. So if we're using 2 inches, it means that the second one will start from here and stop here. Then the third one will start ½ inch from the second one, and this is it. Okay, so it will land at the shoulder. That is, it will now cover the sleeve. That's where we joined the sleeve. It will cover where we joined the sleeve. So I just hope you understand. When I cut it, it will be clear. So just keep following. Okay, so what I'm trying to say, that each of our fabric for making the pleats will be 2 inches long. Okay, 2 inches long. So if you're going to still make use of 3 inches, fine. So but let's measure and see. 2 inches long of fabric is okay. It's okay, but when we are cutting it, we'll cut more than 2 inches because we're going to fold it and stitch. Okay, so we can cut like 2.5 inches on fold. That is to say the total length will be 5 inches. Then when we stitch up our ½ inch, we'll have our 2 inches left. So let me just cut it out, and would place it and see. Okay, or perhaps we can use 2.5. So I don't want it to be too short. That is why I'm considering 2.5. Okay, the first one is 2.5. That is to say the second one will be ½ inch inward from here. So the second one will now be 2.5. Then the third one will start from here and overlap over the sleeve. Okay, so whichever one, let's go ahead and cut out the fabric. Okay, so I've prepared my fabric for the pleats. Okay, so what I actually took was 5 inches, then placed it on fold, and what I have here left is 2.5. So the one that will be at the top, at the neckline, this is it here. Okay, so I took the length, that is how long it is, up to 2 times or even more of the neckline. So you can even join, like I had to join my fabric to get the length. It's not as if you just go to your fabric and cut out the length. As long as it is, you can join. So I had to join to make it up. Okay, so for this one that will be at the neckline, I just folded it and top stitched. Then the other ones that would come after it, I had to stitch at the wrong side, then turned it out. Okay, so that the 2 edges would be clean. I won't have the fabric fraying. So these ones are for the ones that will be outer, that's the second and the third layer. But the first layer, which will be at the neckline, I had to just top stitch after folding. So I just hope you understand. When I folded it, I just top stitch so that it will not be bulky at the this side when I pleat it at the neckline. So we'll get our dress now, and I'll show you how I'll go about arranging it. So we'll start with the first one, that is, or the last one rather. So the one that will be at the neckline is the first, followed by the second, then the third one. So the last one is the one that would lap at the armhole where we'll join the sleeve. So we're going to take off ½ inch. Okay, we'll leave ½ inch where we'll join our sleeve before stitching that very one. So I would mark it. So let's use ½ inch. Okay, so I'll just mark this ½ inch. So this is it. Okay, so I'll measure from this ½ inch to the neckline what space I have there. So it's about 3.75. So that is to say, from this point to where the plate will be is 3.75. So I'll just mark that out all around. So this is it. So that when I'm making my pleats, I'll just follow this line. So I've made my line. I'm going to follow this line. So you can see the way I lined it here, so that by the time I stitch, I'll come back and it will still end on the same line here. So that when we fix our zipper, it will just relax. Okay, that is, everything would align. So I hope you can see this, how it went. This is where I would fix the lower one. So I'll just pick one of these fabric that I prepared for the second and the third one. So I'll start from this side. I'll start from the back here. At this side where we'll have our zipper, I would not pleat it, so I'll just leave about 1 inch for our zipper. Okay, so I'll mark at 1.5. This is where I'll start my pleating. So I'll just pin it down there. I pin it down here. Now I'll start pleating, and as I pleat, like, I'll just follow the line. Okay, so I just want to show you because I can't take my camera to the sewing machine area. So I'll just go ahead and start making my pleats, following the line. So I'll be stitching on the line like so. So I hope you can see what I'm doing. So I'll just stitch at the edge of this fabric. The way I'm folding it, I'll just stitch at the edge here. So I'll just go ahead and keep doing this until I get to the other end. And at the other end, I'll also stop at, that is, I'll leave enough space like I did here for zipper. So let me do that. So I'm done joining the first or the third layer, like you can see. So this is the pleat. Okay, and you can see how neat it is. So for the second layer now, remember what I said. I will first of all place the first one like this. Okay, so since the first one will be starting at this neckline, the second layer will start half inch under this one. So that is the half inch I marked. This half inch I marked. So this half inch I marked. So now I'll measure what this half inch from here to this point is 2 inches. That is to say I'll mark 2 inches all round. Then I'll follow the line. That is, I'll follow the mark to stitch. So you need to mark it so that when you're stitching it will be easy for you. You just pleat on the line, pleat on the mark. That's how I did this one. It was very, very easy. So I'll go ahead and mark 2 inches all the way to the other side, and my second layer will be pleated on this 2 inches mark. Then for the third one, you no need to mark anything. That is for the last layer, which is also the first layer. You will not need to mark anything because you just stitch it on this neck line. Okay, so let me mark this one and go ahead and pleat, and we'll proceed. So I'm done marking it. I'll go right now and stitch the next one. So I'm done pleating the 3 layers, as you can see. Okay, and everything is looking neat. So when we have done this now, at this other side, I would trim out the excess that I have, because I actually moved in a bit before starting, so that if you don't do this, you might just, if you start directly at the edge here, you might end up having these ones not reaching the tip. So you need to bring out a little more out. Okay, and the inside, you can see how neat it is even with the lining. So just arrange it and trim it off to match up with your dress. Okay, and this will be having our zipper. So this is it. So here we are. Okay, so it's time to now add our collar. It's time to add our collar at this point now. So you would fold your collar and find the midpoint. So you find the midpoint. Okay, I'll just notch it a bit there. These are midpoints here. Okay, so you also fold this one and find the midpoint as well. So here is the midpoint. Just marking it. And from inside, you will have it. Okay, so these are midpoints here. Now we'll place this midpoint to midpoint. So the way I want to stitch it so to look neat is this. We would open it up like this. Take whichever side you want to be at the top. Just arrange it that way. Okay, so I like this side that doesn't have much of this other green design. So you place it this way. You are seeing what I'm doing. Open it up. Open it up. So you're stitching just one part to this point. Okay, so you're stitching from the outside. I hope you understand. Let me just open everything. So you take this point, you place it like this. We're going to stitch from the outside, so that by the time we are done stitching, we'll now bring this one over and top stitch on it, so that from the inside it will be neat, from the outside it will be neat. And why I like stitching from the outside is that you have control over your stitch to make it neat. So let me stitch the first one, which is by joining it like this. From the center point you stitch to the end here, and from this center point as well you stitch to the other end. So let me do that and it will be clearer to you. Okay, so I'm done stitching this one, that is the one piece. Okay, so I stitch by 1/2 inch. Now it's remaining this one, and look at what I mentioned initially. I talked about the allowance. You can see when I stitched, I didn't even get much allowance left, just little. Okay, so when you have done this now, so make sure that allowance is very important, so that you can be able to, stitch it, have it complete. So when you have done this now, the next thing is to fold this other one by 1/2 inch and place it on top like this. Okay, so you're going to use it to cover this stitch. So make sure everything is inside, and you're going to stitch, you're going to sew this other one to cover the stitch line of the first one you did, and make sure your collar is sitting nicely like this. Okay, so I'll pin it down. So to make it easy for you, you can go ahead and pin it all through. Then as you stitch, you remove your pin, so that would also make things easy for you. So I have pinned it down the way I will stitch it, as you can see. Hope you're seeing this. Okay, and from the inside, this is what it looks like. You can see how it is from the inside. We have concealed every rough edge, and we have our collar. Okay, so that is why I decided to stitch it the way I'll stitch it. So right now I'll just go following my pin. I will stitch. So you stitch very close to the edge so that it will look neat. Okay, so when I do this, we'll move over to making the sleeve. So don't go away. Okay, keep watching, and if you haven't given this video a like up till now, what are you waiting for? Please give this video a like so that it can be recommended to other people. Okay, all right, so let me go ahead and stitch our collar, then we'll make our sleeve and finish up this dress. So I'm done stitching it. Okay, and this is what we have. And at the inside, this is what it looks like. So we'll fix our zipper, then cut our sleeve and close up the sides. But for now, the zipper. Okay, yeah, let's fix our zipper. So I'll just go ahead and mark out the 1 inch. So this is the excess I have at the top of my collar. So just cut it. Now for the zipper, I'll use my 1 inch. So I'll be fixing the zipper up to this top here, that is up to the collar. So I'll have it this way. So I'll fix my zipper up to the collar. So I'll mark out what we have and fix the zip, just the normal way we fix our zipper. Okay, so all the edges of the what's it called, the pleats will just come together like this. So just normally the way we fix zipper, that's how I'll go about doing this. So let me do just that. Okay, for beginners sake, to fix your zipper, you just measure how long you want it to get to, usually maybe before the hip. Okay, so you can just measure where you want it to get to. Then you see around this side, there is a free dress, but I'm still adding zipper. Okay, so from this point now, I will stitch it down. From this point, I'll close it up down, then leaving this side open to fix my zipper. So if you're a beginner, you want to, like, you don't know how to fix zip, you can say that in the comment section and I'll make a special or a separate video for that. So let me fix the zip down. We'll cut the sleeve. So I'm done fixing my zipper and you can see our neck area. So let's turn to the back so that you see the zipper. You can see this, okay? I can see how everything align. So if you have been following me on this channel, you know that I talk so much about alignment. Okay, whatever you're doing, always make sure you align your work. And you can see from the collar to the pleats, everything aligns so well. So it's now time to cut our sleeve. So for our sleeve, we just take the easiest method of cutting sleeve, which is just to measure our armhole. Okay,
So for the video not to be too long, I'll go ahead and quickly cut out the sleeve. So for this point, it's just going to be a basic sleeve. So if you have been following me, I've made tutorial on this channel on how to cut a basic sleeve. So for this sleeve, the lower part, I'll be adding something like a flay to it, okay? So from this point, I'll just mark the length from the shoulder to the elbow. Okay, then would pleat the remaining part to make up the sleeve. So that is just what I'm doing. So this is just a basic sleeve. So if you don't know how to cut a basic sleeve, just refer to my previous video on how to cut a basic sleeve. So I'll do this so quickly and we'll move ahead.
so I've prepared my sleeve. I've gone ahead to stitch the lining, and they added the lower part that I want to. So I just cut out straight fabric and I pleated it to make up the sleeve. Okay, so this is just what we have. So this is the sleeve. So now we'll go ahead and join it to the bodice. So you just notch the center part of your sleeve. You fold your sleeve into two. So by the time you fold it into two, you notch this point. You match it up to the shoulder. So now these are middle points on the dress on the shoulder. So we're just going to align it like so. Okay, so you can see that the sleeve is matching up. Yeah, you can see. So just align it at the shoulder here. Go ahead and stitch it. That is just it. Then I also cut out the pocket so that I don't forget, because the dress will be having pocket. So for my pocket, it's very simple. I just took piece of fabric, I place my hand on it, then I just cut out the shape. Okay, then the width, like from this point to this point of my pocket, measures 8 inches, so that by the time I stitch in by ½ inch, will be left by 7 inches and the hand will be able to go in. Okay, so I did that for the two sides. And for where the pocket is sitting, is from, I measured from the shoulder to the waist area. So from the waist is the beginning of the pocket downward. So I'll go ahead, fix the sleeve, close it up. By the time I get to this point, I stitch it all around and continue. So this is the good size. So to place your pocket, after cutting out the shape, you have to place good size facing each other. then you stitch it here. Okay, and you do the same on this side, so that by the time you're now closing up your dress at the wrong side, so I'm trying to turn it. By the time you're now closing up your dress, this is what it will look like. Okay, this is what it will look like. So you stitch by the time you get to this point, you stitch like this, you come back here and you continue your stitching. So I'll go ahead now and finish up this dress, and you see the final look of it. Okay, and here is the final look of our dress. So I stoned, that is, I added stones at the pleats. Yes, I just decided to embellish it with stones so it would, bling bling. And this is it. And I hope you love this video. Please give it a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so. And share with your friends. So thank you for watching. See you in my next video. Remain blessed.